Coming up, the filing deadline is tomorrow afternoon for Kentucky's presidential primary.
Dedicated to Eastern and Southern Kentucky, this is WYMT Mountain News at 11.
Good evening, I'm Steve Hensley. Candidate filings for the 2024 presidential election are due in Kentucky tomorrow by 4 p.m. But with Kentucky's presidential primary months later than most other states, will the candidates already be decided come May 21st? Jessica Umbro talked with Secretary of State Michael Adams about the role Kentucky voters will play in deciding the candidates for this upcoming cycle.
I don't think our system disserves Kentucky. The thing that disserves Kentucky most is that our elections are not competitive in a general election.
Kentucky Secretary of State Michael Adams says even if the candidates for the 2024 presidential election are decided by the time May 21st rolls around, Kentuckians still hold some power with their vote.
Your vote still does count. It still does decide whose slate of delegates go to the national convention of your party and decide who vote for president. But of course, the reality is the early states have disproportionate influence in settling the field.
Secretary Adams tells me that changing the date of Kentucky's presidential primary is not entirely simple, with Democrats and Republicans nationally differing on how they view which state should come first, with setting the stage for a national decision.
The Democratic Party was concerned that you had a very white, very rural state that got disproportionate influence over who the nominee of the party would be.
Democrats are not set to hold their traditional Iowa caucus this cycle. However, Republicans are still holding their caucus in less than 2 weeks, which Secretary Adams says could mean Republicans would be more on board with making Kentucky's primary earlier if it were proposed in the legislature.
The Republican Party doesn't really have that debate going on. So I would think the Republican Party would be more favorable to that.
Unlike earlier caucus and primary states or swing states, Kentucky doesn't see as much of presidential candidates.
If we have a surprise in either party, if the Biden campaign becomes endangered by his competition or the Trump campaign by theirs, then we'll see some candidates here.
In Frankfort, Jessica Umbro, WKYT.
Secretary of State Michael Adams says his office has heard from the Trump campaign, but the former president has not officially filed yet in Kentucky. Adams says he does expect the campaign to file before tomorrow's 4 p.m. deadline. So far, President Joe Biden and challenger Dean Phillips are registered in Kentucky for the Democratic Party, and Chris Christie, Ron DeSantis, Nikki Haley, and Vivek Ramaswamy are registered for the Republican Party. A little closer to home, Prestonsburg Mayor Les Stapleton will not be running for a state Senate seat. Stapleton posted on Facebook today that, quote, "I have come to the difficult decision to delay any current aspirations for the 29th senatorial district seat." The incumbent, Johnny Turner of Harlan County, is running, and so far nobody else has filed. In the 95th district House race, it looks like there could be a rematch from 2 years ago. Republican Brandon Spencer filed today. He's hoping to unseat Democrat incumbent Ashley Tackett Lafferty. Many Eastern Kentucky incumbents have no opposition, with the deadline to file tomorrow afternoon. A Kentucky lawmaker introduced legislation that would eliminate taxes on menstrual products. Louisville Representative Lisa Wilner says the bill would provide free period supplies at all public middle and high schools. She says the bill is all about equality. Wilner says providing supplies in schools will also improve learning. She says 1 in 4 high school girls have missed class because they didn't have access to hygiene products.
I think the fact that there has been bipartisan interest in this issue, the fact that we're increasing the conversation, that we've expanded the bill that we filed from last year, I think we're moving forward on this issue, and I like to think we're moving closer to a solution.
The bill has gained support from several advocacy groups, including ACLU of Kentucky and Planned Parenthood Alliance advocates. Last night, Governor Andy Beshear delivered his State of the Commonwealth address. He reflected on his first 4 years in office and honored several Eastern Kentuckians for their work, including Scott McReynolds and the Housing Development Alliance for their efforts after the July 2022 flood. Today, McReynolds reflected on the positive strides HDA made rebuilding in 2023.
To me, I think the most staggering number is that last year we touched 40 new homes. Now, that may be finishing a home that we started in 2022, that may be a home we built from start to finish in 23, or it may be a home we just started at the end.
McReynolds says prior to the flood, the record number of homes they had touched in a year was 23.
We are tracking some cold weather as we close out your Thursday. Let's take a look at those temperatures at this hour. Most of us down into the middle and upper 20s right now, down to 28 for Pikeville, 25 in Hazard, 21 for Clintwood, also Wise, and 22 over in Middlesboro. So we are tracking some very cold weather as we go into tonight. Also some dry and clear weather, all thanks to high pressure close to Cincinnati. So some more dry and clear weather is on tap as we go into tonight. So as a result, we are tracking a very frigid night. Low temperatures in the lower 20s, also some upper teens in those cooler pockets. So be sure to give yourself some extra time to defrost the car as you wake up and walk out the door on your Friday. But your forecast on Friday looking pretty good. We are dry once again, all thanks to that high pressure system. And those temperatures top out close to average in the middle to possibly upper 40s, and enjoy the calm weather because big changes on the way as we go into this weekend. Those details coming up in just a few minutes. Steve?
All right, Cameron, thank you. The county clerk in Owsley County has been indicted following investigations centered within the Kentucky Attorney General's office. 41-year-old Shanna Oliver is accused of tampering with public records and official misconduct. She's accused of unlawfully refusing to deliver public records and failing to send paperwork regarding a trailer transfer. According to the indictment, both allegations deal with information that should have been delivered to the Kentucky Department of Vehicle Regulation. Kennedy Little lives in Owsley County and says there have always been issues with how much Oliver works.
Like if you work, Monday through Friday and your only options to come in during lunch, well, you come in on Tuesday and the office is closed, you come in on Wednesday, the office is closed. What days is she open? What days is the public able to come in, not only for vehicles, but for deed searches, for title searches, for marriage license, other things like that's not being able to be bought.
A spokesperson for the Attorney General said he could not comment further on the indictment. Other local officials in Owsley County say they have been told that Oliver plans to retire and have someone else take over the office later this month. Former Letcher County Sheriff's Deputy Ben Fields was sentenced today. Fields will serve 7 years for charges including rape and sodomy. The former deputy appeared in court today in front of Pike County Circuit Court Judge Eddie Coleman. Coleman also says Fields will be listed as a registered sex offender. He was ordered to report to the Letcher County Jail tomorrow at noon. A death investigation is underway in Floyd County. State police say a man was found in the Drift community on Tuesday. He was identified as 64-year-old James Osborne of Minnie. Osborne was found outside of his vehicle along Drift Hollow Road. His body was sent to the state medical examiner's office for an autopsy. New tonight, a 12-year-old student is accused of having a gun on a school bus in Rowan County. Officials say it appears the .22 caliber handgun was never loaded and there was no intent to harm anyone. The student was arrested, though, and charged with unlawful possession of a weapon on school property, which is a felony. A teenage gunman shot and killed a middle school student and injured several other people in a rampage at a high school in Perry, Iowa, about 40 miles northwest of Des Moines. The suspect is dead. CBS's Michael George has the latest.
Responding officers found multiple victims with gunshot wounds, including a 6th grader who was fatally shot.
The shooter has been identified as 17-year-old Dylan Butler, a student at Perry High School. Butler was armed with a pump-action shotgun and a small caliber handgun.
4 students and an administrator were wounded in the attack at the small-town Iowa high school on the first day back from winter break.
Serious activation at Perry High School, it's possible gunshots.
As the tragedy unfolded Thursday morning, people ran into classrooms, barricaded themselves in offices, or rushed towards an exit.
Officers located during the search of the school an improvised explosive device. Numerous officers from multiple agencies were able to secure the school and verify no additional threats.
Among the students who escaped, Jody Kurth's stepson, who who lives just blocks from school. He'd been grazed by a bullet and came back for medical attention.
It was absolutely horrifying. Like, that's one of the worst moments of my entire life, but the best phone call I got was saying that they were okay.
Officials say the shooter made a number of social media posts around the time of the shooting. It's believed he acted alone.
This senseless tragedy has shaken our entire state to the core. We'll work tirelessly to get the answers so that we can prevent it from happening again.
The FBI and ATF are assisting local authorities in the investigation. Michael George, CBS News.
Officials said they are still working on determining a motive. Tony Award-winning stage and screen star Glynis Johns has died. She played the mother opposite Julie Andrews in the classic movie Mary Poppins and also introduced the world to the song Send in the Clowns by Stephen Sondheim. She won a Tony for A Little Night Music in 1973. She died of natural causes at an assisted living home in Los Angeles. Johns was 100 years old. Tonight, there are even more court documents being released related to sex offender Jeffrey Epstein. They are from a civil lawsuit filed against Ghislaine Maxwell. She's in prison for conspiring with Epstein in his sex trafficking operation. Here's CBS's Nancy Chen.
After years of highly publicized allegations that Jeffrey Epstein provided high-profile men with underage girls, these newly released documents give insight into Epstein's ties with some of these prominent figures and his sexual abuse accusers. Britain's Prince Andrew was among the notable associates named. In a 2016 deposition, accuser Johanna Schoberg says she was with Epstein, Ghislaine Maxwell, and Virginia Giuffre in 2001 when she met Prince Andrew at the millionaire's Manhattan home. She told attorneys that when they were taking a photo, I sat on Andrew's lap, and Andrew put his hand on my breast. Giuffre previously said she was forced by Maxwell and Epstein to have sex with Prince Andrew when she was 17. He denied those allegations, and they settled the lawsuit out of court in 2022. Schoberg also discussed former President Bill Clinton. She did not accuse him of any wrongdoing, but said Epstein told her one time that Clinton likes them young, referring to girls. Today, the former president's spokesperson pointed to a 2019 statement that said Clinton knew nothing about Epstein's crimes. CBS News legal analyst Ricky Kleeman.
What is not answered in these documents?
What goes unanswered is that we really still don't know when Jeffrey Epstein, either through Ghislaine Maxwell or through others, got these young girls to his properties, and that they were not only abused by him and by Ghislaine, but that they may have been trafficked to other people.
Kleeman also says it's unlikely the information released will lead to further legal action. Nancy Chen, CBS News, New York.
Coming up on Mountain News at 11, how one local detention center is helping inmates transition into the workforce when they regain their freedom.
Plus, a busy weekend forecast is on tap, timing out those rain and wintry mix chances after this break.